Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Yes, I know I'm on the bumpy road and some of you can't stand to hear the sound of the jiggly gravel and stuff, but guess what? I can't help you with there. It's been a busy day and I ain't got time to make a regular video, so this is what you get. We had our big meeting today. I say this all the time, but this one kind of blew me away. It's bigger than we've had in the last few months. Really good meeting, had the cheese making class, everyone loved that. Other people coming there to announce that they've started up small, prepper type groups in their area. So just a really good time. Lots of the regulars and a few new people showed up. So anyways, I just had to talk about that. The flooding and stuff due to the hurricane in the Carolinas is still really, really bad. There's lots of areas that they can't get to. They can only get to by air. They're now saying that there could be 1,000 or more people missing, unsure of their, condition, whether they're, have survived or not. But this is shaping up to be a pretty big deal. And it gets worse because there's another hurricane, potentially, not yet a hurricane, but there's another storm forming that right now the early projections show that it could be at least a Category 3 hurricane that again hits the panhandle of Florida. It looks like it may be just to the west of where this last one hit, and it may not at all follow the same path. It may not be a direct hit to the area, but if it's big enough, it could certainly cause enough disturbance and rain to dump more rain in that area. And we're talking a week away. Maybe the floodwater should have subsided mostly by then, but still, they're still dealing with the damage and stuff just a week later. So, not good news for that area. Get ready for that because it's possible. Again, it's still early on, so things may change. But, I mean, if you're in that area, or close to it at all, or someone, now's not the time to take a chance and say, well, it may go a different direction. And then on top of that, as if all that wasn't bad enough, a chemical plant exploded in North of Atlanta, Georgia today. I don't know how many of you have seen this. This thing is, it's catastrophic looking. This fire that's burning, this chemical fire, it's likely that it is chlorine, although chlorine doesn't make this kind of smoke. This brownish red is more of a nitric acid type smoke, but it could be some chlorine mixed in. The fact is it could just be a lot of chemicals mixed in, but this thing is big. It appears very likely much bigger than that train derailment fire up in Ohio. This looks like some of these scenes we've seen here lately in war where they've, done massive bombing in Russia or in Lebanon. And I'm not necessarily saying that this was some kind of terrorist attack, but at this point I wouldn't put it off the table. But here's the thing. The prevailing winds right now, and I've told you guys in the past, you should keep track of prevailing winds. There are apps that you can get that show you the prevailing winds at the time. And right now, the prevailing winds moving across that area where that massive chemical fire is burning is pretty much going to put it right into the area of all the flooding and damage in the Carolinas. Not saying that they will absolutely get hit with it. It could move up into the upper atmosphere. There are options. But, again, is now the time to risk. It is now the time to say, well, maybe it won't hit us. Maybe it'll dissipate. Maybe who knows? Because right now we don't really know. Like I said, they're saying that the majority of what was there was chlorine. They produced pool chlorine. But according to the color of smoke, I'm not sure exactly what it is. So, it's definitely chemical. You can see it. It's a place called Biolabs, and they make a lot of different things. You can clearly tell that it is a chemical fire. I know you can just tell if you've seen it. If you are anywhere north of this, in the prevailing winds of where this is being carried, you need to be prepared. You know, back when that train derailment in Ohio happened, I was like one of the only people, if not the only person online that was saying I didn't think that it was quite that big a deal, because from everything I had looked at, I believed that most of the chemicals were burned off. And everyone else was saying people are going to just be falling over dead. And guess what? I mean, for the most part, I was mostly right. I wasn't saying it wasn't a big deal. I was just saying I don't think it's quite as big a deal as what everyone else was saying. There was some people really hyping it up. I'm not hyping this up, but I'm telling you, because this kind of stuff happens fast, you don't have a lot of time. Be cautious if you're in the area of this. If you're north of Georgia, the Carolinas, it's making a big old loop. The winds are, and it could be carried directly at you. And I'm telling you, I wouldn't take chances on this one because it's so huge. It is, and this one is different than the train. The train, they blew it up to specifically burn off the chemical. This one isn't. This one, it's a different kind of chemical, and so it is dumping potentially either chlorine gas, which is extremely deadly, or maybe nitric acid gas. It's not quite as deadly, but still very bad stuff. Either way, it's dumping a lot of stuff, and I'm not on here to tell you who did it or what happened. I'm just telling you that it looks really bad, and if you are in the area, that you should be prepared. You should get ready. You know, plastic sheeting over your windows, duct tape it, pull out the masks, potentially some type of respirator if you have it. Stay indoors or leave the area. If you start feeling nauseated, have headaches, burning in your nasal passages or throat, it's quite possible that you're experiencing that, and you should take shelter and use proper precautions. But I can't tell you why all this is happening. I mean, it could just all be a coincidence. And why is it this area that this one event has happened and two other really bad events could happen? I don't know. But I will tell you this, that I'd say now for at least the next 6 months, probably longer, things are just going to be crazy, one right after another. And I believe it's all by design. With the elections, with wars, and everything that's going on, they got to keep everything crazy. So whether or not this is just a coincidence, which you all know how I feel about those, or this is something more orchestrated, it's a bad time for people. And then on top of all that, in a couple of days, the dock workers on the East Coast could very possibly completely strike. Is it tomorrow or the next day? And then that's a big deal too, because that's all the exports. The import stuff mostly comes in on the West Coast. The export stuff goes out on the East Coast. So it's quite possible that China is not going to get all their wheat that they've purchased and other items. It could be a big shutdown of the supply chain, and with hurricane after hurricane and potential gas and supply chain slowdown, things from the East Coast may have a real difficult time moving across the West, across the Mississippi, through all of those areas. It's just, it has the appearance of a perfect storm, and I'm hoping, praying that that's not what happens. But there is a potential here of several things happening, just one right after another, in a close proximity of each other, creating a really, really bad scenario. So get ready for it, folks. Stock up, prep up, pray up, train up, do it all. Even if you're not directly in the line of these things, you should definitely be prepared. Because if these things that I speak of all start to happen, it's going to affect a wider area. It's going to cause disruptions all over. And it could be part of that catalyst that starts kicking things off, kind of like what happened in Israel and Lebanon, the assassination or the killing of the head of Hezbollah could potentially cause a cascade events over there in the Middle East, leading to a big wide-scale war there. Same kind of stuff could be happening here in the United States. So get prepared for it. If nothing else, it's just a real bad time for people, and you need to get ready. It's time to get your houses in order and prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.